Okay, so welcome back. We are on to pattern number 7. And as you can see, it is another right angle triangle, but it is a little bit different from the ones we've been doing. If you notice, we have 1 on top, and then it goes 2, 1, and each row goes in a descending order. However, the columns, they go in an ascending order. So the rows go from 2 to 1 while the columns go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a little bit of an interesting loop. So let's get started, and we're both going to work through it. Again, I haven't done this loop before, but it's good because we could troubleshoot it together. Because it is a right angle triangle, our template remains the same. So nothing about our template changes. So let's do that. And what changes? Our columns changes. So because the columns change, we're going to print the J loop, because remember, this is the columns. And this is the rows. All right, so let's start. Okay, so let's print the columns because that is what changes and that is what we want to get our output as. Okay, and now let's print our lines. All right, this is our basic template that we have been creating for the last 6 patterns. Now, for our rows go from 1 to 7. So I don't think that changes. So let's just start. For int I equal to 1, I less than and equal to num. Okay, I plus plus. So that doesn't change. What we need to concentrate on is line number 8, the J loop. Okay, so the inner loop, what is that loop doing? Let's look at that. So we seem to have the columns going in a descending order, which means that I think that is going to be greater than and equal to 1, because this is where the 1 is. The 1 is at the end of the loop. That's where the loop exits here. So I would say greater than and equal to 1. And because of we don't want an infinity loop, because everything else would be greater than 1, we're going to do minus minus. Now, this part here, I'm not 100% sure, because if we say J is equal to num and greater than and equal to 1, I don't think that we are going to get this loop. What I'm thinking in my head is, because as you could see, the row here, which is the I loop, begins at 2 and then 1. And then the column here, 3, 2, 1. I'm thinking that it is going to be J is equal to I. That was my first thinking. J has to be equal to the iteration for the for loop. And then it goes down. Does that make sense? Let me explain that again. So we have the rows going from 1 to 7. That remains the same. That doesn't change. However, our J loop, which is our columns, it goes in a decline, in a descending order, which means that whatever I is, so it's going to start at I, and it cannot start at 1, and I'll show you why. Because it ends at 1, so therefore it cannot start at 1. Also, it cannot start at 7 because the only row that starts at 7 is the final row, which makes me think it's going to have to start at whatever I is, and then it's going to go down to 1. But let me run this and see. I'm thinking that is how it's going to have to be. Okay, is it the same loop? Yes, it is. Okay, so I hope that explanation was fine. The reason why we're starting it at I is because the J loop counts from I, whatever the row number is, and then it counts down to 1. All right, this is the loop. This is the pattern. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. But again, join me for the next session. And we're going to go on to our task number 8, which is an inverse of that loop. And then from task number 9, we start to create like beautiful patterns. So this might be for a while our final right angle triangle loop. And so number 8 is going to be our final right angle triangle loop. Thank you so much, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so we can learn together, and happy testing.